Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Welcome to the June Chicago Mobility Collaborative meeting. My name is Peter Taylor, and I am the president of the Friends of the Major Taylor Trail. This year we celebrate our 20th year of existence. The Major Taylor Trail is named after Walter Marshall Taylor, no relation, just respect. Major Taylor was America's first African-American sports superstar, and he has a Chicago connection. The Major Taylor Trail is 8 miles long and runs from Dan Ryan Woods to Whistler Woods in Riverdale. However, the trail is diminished if there isn't a strong bicycle network to provide access for the tens of thousands of surrounding citizens. The strong mobility network is the reason that we're gathered here tonight. So our meeting agenda is on board. We're doing the welcoming now. We'll have the community voices, of which I am one, knowledge sharing, and so community tables are around the room that you guys here can see, but anybody online can't. We'll have breakout sessions, reboot, and then a meeting close. And I think we might have a appearance by Commissioner Biaggi tonight, maybe. Pardon? A little closer to the mic? Okay. All right, great. So the goals for this meeting are to make new connections, identify opportunities for partnership, learn about transportation and priorities and challenges in Inglewood, advance conversations and efforts to identified at past community tables, exchange ideas and suggestions for future Chicago Mobility Collaborative meetings and site visits. So the goal of the Chicago Community Collaborative is to establish a forum for meaningful participation where collaboration is encouraged, learning is facilitated, and partnerships are fostered, where Chicagoans have a voice in the decision-making that impacts them. Please listen actively to understand others' views and perspectives. One person should speak at a time, seek clarity, avoid making assumptions, be accountable for your words and their impact. Your experience is valuable and unique, and it's worth sharing. Provide constructive criticism, ideas, and project, not of individuals. And please let us know if you'd like us to add any more ground rules to this list in the future. And now I will introduce you to Dave Smith, who will take us further. Thank you.
Okay, hi everybody. Dave Smith, Chicago Department of Transportation. Thank you for joining us in person and online. As Peter said, Commissioner Gia Biaggi will be here and she'll give some CDOT updates towards the end of the meeting. So the next thing that we're going to do is break out into our 3 different community tables, and then there'll be a virtual table that Romina Castillo from CDOT will be leading for folks who are joining online. So we've got 3 different tables. These tables, just as a reminder, people can submit recommendations for table topics. Every table has a QR code which you can scan, fill out some ideas, submit those to the CMC leadership group, and then the leadership group gets together and talks through what table ideas make the most sense for the next meeting. And with these conversations, this is a really great way to engage with a broad set of stakeholders and really have an organic dialogue around issues facing mobility, accessibility, and safe streets. So with all of these conversations, we really want to be intentional about giving everybody space and communicating ideas, but also really coming out of these conversations with next steps and action items so that they're not just discussions, but they're really geared towards getting things done and follow through. So the first meeting we've got, or the first table we've got over here is our transit table, and is going to be focused on the topic of bus rapid transit, or BRT. It'll be led by Audrey from Metropolitan Planning Council, MPC. We've got Jen, Henry, and Jason from CTA, Kurt from CDOT. This is a continuation of last quarter's meeting in McKinley Park, where there was a lot of discussion around transit improvements, what they are, the benefits of them. And this will be really more of a design charrette, looking at a couple of example streets, talking about design solutions, trade-offs, and how to actually bring bus rapid transit to these few different types of corridors. So we've got the second table back here, which is part of our series called Beyond the Bike Lane. This is also a continuation of the last meeting. At our last meeting, we talked specifically about biking and businesses and how to build support along commercial corridors with the business community. So this discussion will be led by Fabian from the Northwest Side Community Development Corporation in Belmont-Cragen. Fabian's got a couple of colleagues with him who are transit and corridor ambassadors. So they live within the Belmont community, and they are really the liaison between businesses and community members. And they've really taken on this great effort that kind of was sparked by our last discussion last quarter, and they've developed a survey to talk with business owners, customers, and people in the neighborhood about travel patterns to the neighborhood commercial corridor, issues around parking, how you get there, how would you like to get to the street, would different types of infrastructure facilitate different types of trips. So really a great example for communities all across the city to learn from and to bring to their neighborhood to help advance safe street elements, specifically on business corridors, and really build up that support. So that's table 2. And then the third table over here is going to be led by, I think, Jane Healy, and really focused on barriers for active mobility. So talking about the built environment, issues around accessibility, ADA requirements, and a conversation around physical barriers that exist in different neighborhoods and can make biking, walking, accessing transit a challenge. So that'll be a good conversation, and this idea of physical barriers, there's a lot of commonality between communities across the city, but also different parts of the city have unique challenges to deal with. So we'll break out into the tables for about 45 or 50 minutes or so. Following that, we'll ask one person from every table to summarize like the main points that were discussed and to talk about any action items or next steps that came out of the discussion. Just really brief. I think we'll have Commissioner Biaggi at that point give an update to folks. The virtual group will figure out how to get the summary. I think if you guys can compile that, get that to us. We'll have someone read that to the rest of the group who's here. So again, really appreciate everyone's participation in the Chicago Mobility Collaborative, and we'll break out into the discussions. Thank you. Okay, thank you everybody. So what we're going to do is we'll call up one person from each table to just kind of summarize the main points of the conversation and talk about next steps. And so we'll have each table report out. I think we're working on getting a summary from the virtual room as well, so we'll have someone read out what was discussed there. And then we'll have our partner Fatal from Englewood come up and talk about the work that he's doing within the community, and then we'll have Commissioner Biaggi kind of close things out. So, table 1.
Yeah, come up. Thank you.
Hi Hi, my name is Morgan Madaram. I'm with Commuters Take Action. You may also know me from the 40th Ward office. Thank you. I was at the BRT table. This is a follow-up from our last meeting, from the last quarterly meeting on BRT. This time we talked about some of the road requirements, so like what the bus lane widths might have to be. Something interesting we talked about is how in some areas you can take space from traffic lanes and parking lanes, but there are restrictions based on sidewalk because you do want anywhere where there's going to be BRT or transit to be walkable, so you want to keep a wide sidewalk and not take from that area. If you've ever taken a bus on Lakeshore Drive, you'll know what I'm talking about. You're just standing on the side of the highway waiting for the bus. That's a terrible experience. There's also these wonderful diagrams you can check out showing, like, this is sort of the before, like what those lanes look like now. Western, on the south side, there's 6 lanes of traffic, and then we have some beautiful after pictures where we have our BRT lanes and what that might look like and what those requirements may be. The last one I think is the most beautiful. It's truly a complete street, protected bike lane, bus, 2 cars, 2 lanes of traffic, and parking. And that's that.
Hello, my name is Destiny. We're from Table 2, and we kind of split our summary down the middle. So I'll let you see. Okay, sorry. My name is Destiny. We're from Table 2, and we kind of split our summary. So I'm going to let him go ahead and start, and then I'll finish.
So my name is Frank. I'm part of the Belmont Credit Ambassador Program. So what me and my team were doing, we were going around Belmont Central area for the Belmont Avenue streets, doing the survey for business owners and pedestrians around that area, just to get their feedback and their thoughts about, issues when it comes to traffic, parking, speed issues, everything like that. And what we got from both business owners and pedestrians, pretty much all three, they pretty much expressed issues with, some parking issues, speeding issues, issues with, people, on the sidewalks, leaving the DB bucks around, obviously we all seen DB bucks being left around the sidewalk. Sometimes they put it on the sidewalk, it falls, it blocks people's way. Speeding issues, there's some people in some areas on Belmont Avenue that express, there's a lack of, speed camera by a school, and they will, take that time to, some cars to speed up to get faster, and it causes issues. And yeah, overall, pretty much trying to help them get their feedback and try to see if we could come up with a solution for them. And I'll pass it on to Destiny, and she'll give you pretty much more of a summary of it.
So when it comes to solutions, our table had some very great ideas in how we could approach businesses and pedestrians and kind of take a more educational approach in letting them know how these solutions can protect their businesses and also make these traffic patterns safer. And so that was kind of just the gist of what we talked about. We thought maybe taking more surveys and maybe even showing them comparative data to other communities that have different traffic patterns and maybe even have protected bike lanes. One of the main concerns for a lot of these businesses was, will this bike lane take away parking, which will take away customers? And we want to help them understand that it won't take away parking, and it'll also bring people to the neighborhood. And so that was one of them. Even just the bike lane in general, in slowing down traffic in those places where speeding was a concern. We also have a free parking garage on Central near Belmont, and so we also talked about incentivizing that free parking garage so people knew about it and kind of were enticed to park there instead of double parking on the main street or leaving their car with the hazards on and risking a ticket, having to pay for parking. So just all in all, taking an educational approach in letting these business owners know and residents and pedestrians know that there are different solutions to a lot of these concerns, and it's just a matter of talking about them.
Hi, so I was with the walking tour. The original tour guide couldn't make it tonight, so we went on, Peter gave us a wonderful impromptu tour of the surrounding area. We talked a lot about investment in the area and also gaps in investment in the area. So for example, even though we see divvy bikes around, we don't see the bike infrastructure that would more incentivize people to use those bikes. We also talked about how kind of the political structure of the area makes those investments difficult. Even though Englewood is a cohesive community area with a lot of history, it's split into multiple different ward maps, so there ends up being sort of a lack of opportunity for one cohesive goal or plan for the area. We also took a lovely walk around the park itself. Talked a lot about kind of the history of the park and surrounding neighborhood of the park. Yeah, it was a good walk.
Hello, everybody. I was at table 4, and we discussed barriers to mobility, such as walking, cycling, and rolling. And the table pretty unanimously agreed that the biggest barrier that we have to these methods of sustainable and convenient transportation was that we could be killed at any moment by a car. And we agreed the only way to fix this issue is with physical barriers. So not paint and not flexible posts, but hard bollards and hard concrete and daylight zones and roundabouts and raised crosswalks and raised intersections, as well as some level of non-police-based enforcement, such as deputizing some of the city's citizens in the 311 app, or having a team run by the Chicago Department of Transportation that are not police officers that are able to go around writing tickets for driving and parking violations.
Thank you. My name is Emmy. I'm one of the SAFE ambassadors, and I will be representing our on Zoom cohort. That table was led by Romina Castillo and under the title Beyond the Bike Lane. So I'm going to summarize what was talked about for our Zoom folks. They brought up questions about not being, they brought up questions not being answered from CDOT on an infrastructure investment and prioritization. Some folks were requesting better understanding on how funding is prioritized across the city and how community can access those funding systems. And it was also suggested that CMC be a space where CDOT can engage the public around investment priorities or projects to involve people more from CDOT. Folks also mentioned a need for better coordination among city agencies and departments. So CTA and DPD were mentioned. There was the suggestion for a survey to gain public feedback from the public about how many people would like to walk or bike if it was safer, recognizing nuance on the meaning of safety in different communities. Finally, it was suggested to enhance our perspective on bike lanes, understanding that it's not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to bike infrastructure. All right, that concludes the summary from our Zoom folks. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Fatal Perkins, the founder and CEO of Think Outside the Block. Welcome to Hamilton Park. Welcome to Inglewood, my home, the safest place in Chicago. I did a lot of work with MBAC, listening to everybody come up here and report out. It just made me think of some of the things that we work toward. One of the things that I tried to make sure that I continuously share was making sure that no matter what our individual, goals are, to make sure that we are looking at the whole picture, right? And so I heard some people talk about the protected bike lanes, whereas there was a challenge for people who have businesses and is taking up parking spaces, right? And so when I think about like how Inglewood is set up, where when we advocated for protected bike lanes and different things, to know that one of our barriers was that we have 5 different aldermen. So that means that at 63rd, on 63rd Street, we can have bike lanes, but on 64th, we can absolutely have the next alderman that can think something different than the alderman in a different ward. Or at 65th and Racine, we could literally have one alderman on one side of the street, where it's the 17th ward, and right across the street is the 16th ward. And so those are some of the challenges that we dealt with and are still working towards, just seeing how do we come together to work collectively to make sure that everybody's thoughts and overall goals is included. But I wanted to let everybody know that this Saturday, there's a big bike ride that happens in Inglewood that I started organizing 9 rides ago. And so it's called Rolling Peace, and this is going to be Rolling Peace 10. It's a ride that I intentionally create the route that go through the areas that experience the most violence. And according to the 7 district statistics, every time we've done this ride, there's been 0 complaints of any violent crimes in the entire 7 district. And so again, Rolling Peace is this Saturday from 4 to 8 p.m. at Ogden Park. 6500 South Racine. From 4 to 8, it will be a resource fair. We're going to be giving bikes away. We have a 100 bike giveaway to youth that don't have bikes. Divvy will show up and provide. Thank you. Divvy comes out and they loan bikes out to individuals that wants to attend but don't have bikes. And then in the past, we've had different things that where our seniors would like to ride, but they can't physically pedal, right? And so we're working towards some things right now. If anybody has any suggestions and want to, mention it, I'm open to whatever that could look like. So outside of that, please come out and ride with us. We pull off at 8 p.m. this Saturday, Ogden Park. Thank you. And if you want the information to come to your phone, you can text Rolling Peace to 708-438-7300. Again, roll the letter N, peace, to 708-438-7300. Thank you.
All right, well, that should have been the closing. This microphone's too tall. So I'm Commissioner Biaggi with CDOT here, and I wanted to thank everybody for coming out today and coming out to all the meetings and being part of these conversations. You can see, right, this is an intersectional conversation, whether it's the intersection of what government can do across departments, what we can do together with community-based organizations and local residents, what should happen maybe without us in the room, right, and really building support for things like you heard in the Belmont example here. I think the quote I think the quote I heard was from you, change management is real, at the table over here. And it is, right? And it's going to take all of us to make that change happen. And I think we heard, what I heard at least, in sitting at most of the tables here, was also the way that, whether it's the way CDOT communicates, the way we talk to each other, that the messaging, the values are here. And I think a lot of us in this room, we get the values of where we want to go. But how we talk to each other, how we listen to each other, how we communicate that, sometimes it's, awesome transportation nerd statistics and we can make our case. But sometimes it's an emotional appeal that's going to make our case. Sometimes it's listening to the business community and really hearing them. And we're working on, for example, an economic impact study to show that cycling has a positive economic impact. That might be the message that we need. So I just want to offer my gratitude and appreciation for everyone participating, coming to these things, visiting other parts of the city, cycling around here. Please come to the Rolling Peace event. Those are really meaningful events, and they're happening. Events like this one that's coming up on Saturday and all around the city. Participate and just know that we appreciate. And lastly, I'm talking too much already, but we're listening. We're listening very hard to what you're saying. What you're saying here in these meetings and in every other conversation, it's meaningful. We're putting it into the work that we're trying to do together with you, and we can't do it alone. So again, thank you for participating, and please continue to be on this journey with us. So I think that's it. Good night. Thank you for coming.